The morning sun cast long shadows across the alien ruins as Dr. Hana Kim carefully brushed dirt from another broken stone tablet. She had been working on Kepler 442b for 6 months now, and every day brought new mysteries from the ancient civilization that once called this planet home. "Find anything interesting today?" June Park called out from across the dig site. Her research partner was always optimistic, even when they spent weeks finding nothing but broken pottery and weathered stones. Hana wiped sweat from her forehead and looked at the strange symbols carved into the tablet. Same as always. These markings don't match anything in our database. It's like this entire civilization used a completely different form of communication. The mining colony of Kepler 442b was supposed to be a simple assignment. Extract rare minerals, catalog any archaeological findings, and file reports back to Earth. But nothing about this place was simple. The ruins they had discovered were older than any known alien civilization, and the technology scattered throughout the dig sites was beyond anything humans had encountered in their century of space exploration. Hana stood up and stretched her back. The gravity here was lighter than Earth's, but working hunched over ancient artifacts all day still took its toll. She walked over to the main excavation pit where her team had been working for the past week. They had uncovered what appeared to be some kind of ceremonial chamber, with walls covered in the same mysterious symbols. "Dr. Kim, you need to see this," called out Mira Song, one of her graduate students. The young woman was kneeling beside a small alcove in the chamber wall, her scanner beeping rapidly. Hana hurried over and knelt beside Mira. Inside the alcove was something that definitely didn't belong with the other artifacts. It looked like an egg, but not like any egg she had ever seen. The shell was translucent and seemed to be made of some kind of crystal. Soft blue light pulsed inside it like a slow heartbeat. "When did we uncover this?" Hana asked, reaching for her own scanner. "Just now. It was hidden behind that false wall panel. But Dr. Kim, look at these readings. My scanner can't identify what it's made of. The energy signature is completely unknown." Hana ran her scanner over the egg. The device beeped in confusion, displaying error messages and question marks where there should have been material composition data. The egg was about the size of a football and warm to the touch. The blue light inside seemed to pulse faster when she brought her hands closer to it. "Should we call Administrator Wan?" Mira asked, referring to the colony's head administrator. "Not yet," Hana said quickly. Something about the egg called to her. It seemed fragile, almost desperate. The pulsing light was growing dimmer even as she watched. "Let's get it back to the lab first. I want to run more tests." June jogged over to join them. "What have you found now?" He stopped short when he saw the egg. "Oh, that's not from around here." "Brilliant observation," Hana said with a smile. She carefully lifted the egg from its alcove. It was surprisingly light, and the moment her hands made contact with it, the blue light brightened noticeably. "Did you see that?" Mira whispered. "It responded to your touch." Hana felt a strange warmth spreading through her chest as she held the egg. It wasn't just warm on the outside. Something about it made her feel protective, like she was holding something precious and vulnerable. Back at the research facility, Hana set up a small containment field around the egg and began running every test she could think of. The results were baffling. The egg seemed to be composed of materials that shouldn't exist according to known physics. It absorbed certain types of energy while reflecting others. Most puzzling of all, it seemed to respond to emotional states. When Hana felt frustrated with a particularly difficult test, the egg's light dimmed. When she felt curious and excited about a new discovery, it brightened. And when she looked at it with the same expression she might give to a sick child, it practically glowed. "This is impossible," she muttered, reviewing the data for the 100th time. "What's impossible?" Administrator Tae Wan had entered the lab without her noticing. He was a stern man who preferred regulations and proper procedures over scientific curiosity. "This artifact we found today, it appears to be some kind of biological specimen, but it's unlike anything in our databases." Tae Wan walked over to examine the egg. The moment he approached with his usual bureaucratic indifference, the light inside dimmed significantly. Have you filed the proper discovery reports? I wanted to complete initial testing first. Dr. Kim, you know the protocols. Any unknown biological material must be reported immediately to military command. This could be dangerous. Hana felt a spike of protective anger. It's not dangerous. Look at it. It's clearly dying without proper care. That's not for you to determine. I'm ordering you to prepare it for immediate transport to the military research station on Titan Base. The egg's light flickered weakly, and Hana felt something twist in her stomach. The idea of handing this fragile, responsive creature over to military researchers who would probably dissect it filled her with horror. I need more time to study it properly. It's responding to environmental factors in ways we don't understand yet. Moving it could kill it. That's a risk we'll have to take. I want that thing off this colony within 48 hours. After Taewon left, Hana stared at the egg in its containment field. The blue light was barely visible now, pulsing so slowly she wondered if it might stop altogether. She made a decision that would change everything. That night, Hana quietly disabled the containment field and carefully moved the egg to her private quarters. The moment she picked it up with gentle hands, the light strengthened. She set up a small heating pad and arranged soft blankets around it, the same way she might care for an injured bird. I don't know what you are, she whispered to the egg, but no one is going to hurt you while I'm around. The egg pulsed with warm blue light, and for the first time since finding it, Hana felt like she was doing the right thing. She didn't know that her simple act of kindness would soon reshape the balance of power across the entire galaxy. As she fell asleep that night with the egg safely beside her bed, neither Hana nor anyone else in the colony realized that something ancient and powerful was finally responding to the one thing it had been waiting centuries to find: a mother's love. 3 weeks had passed since Hana brought the egg to her quarters. Every morning she would check on it before heading to work, and every evening she would spend hours just sitting with it, talking softly about her day. The egg had grown stronger. Under her care, its blue light now steady and warm. You're going to get yourself in serious trouble, June warned her during their lunch break. Administrator Wan has been asking questions about missing research materials. Hana stirred her soup absently. I filed a report saying the artifact was damaged during transport. Not technically a lie since I did move it. Hana, what if that thing is dangerous? We don't know what it is or where it came from. It's not dangerous, she said firmly. It's just alone and scared. I can feel it. June gave her a worried look. Feel it? What do you mean? Before Hana could answer, her communication device buzzed with an emergency message. She had to return to her quarters immediately. Something was happening to the egg. Hana ran through the colony corridors, her heart pounding. When she reached her room, she could see bright blue light seeping under the door. She quickly entered and found the egg glowing so brightly she had to shield her eyes. The crystal shell was beginning to crack. Thin lines of golden light appeared along the surface, spreading like a spider web. The egg was hatching. Come on, little one, Hana whispered, kneeling beside it. You can do it. The cracks widened, and suddenly the top of the shell dissolved into sparkling dust. What emerged made Hana gasp in wonder. The creature looked like a small child made of living starlight. Its form was roughly humanoid but seemed to shift and flow like liquid light. 2 bright spots that might have been eyes focused on Hana's face. Hello, she said softly, reaching out with one finger. The creature reached back and touched her finger with what appeared to be a tiny hand. The moment they made contact, Hana's mind filled with emotions that weren't her own. Joy, relief, love, and something else. Recognition. This being knew her somehow. Mom, the creature said, its voice like wind chimes in her mind rather than actual sound. Tears filled Hana's eyes. Yes, little one. I'm here. The creature, no bigger than a house cat, floated up from the remains of its shell and settled in Hana's lap. It was warm and light, like holding a piece of gentle fire. She decided to call it Byul, the Korean word for star. Over the next few days, Byul grew rapidly, not just in size, but in awareness and ability. It learned to speak Korean by listening to Hana. though it still preferred to communicate through emotions and mental images. It could float through the air, phase through solid objects, and seemed to understand complex concepts instantly. How is it learning so fast? Hana wondered aloud as she watched Buell effortlessly solve a puzzle meant for graduate students. Because I remember, Buell said, its voice now clear and childlike. I remember many things, but they are far away, like dreams. Hana had managed to keep Buell's existence secret, but that became impossible when Security Officer Dae-hyun arrived for a surprise inspection of her quarters. Dr. Kim, there have been reports of unusual energy readings coming from this section, Dae-hyun said, pushing past her into the room. Buell was floating near the ceiling, examining a light fixture with curious eyes. When it saw the stranger, it quickly hid behind Hana. Dae-hyun's jaw dropped. What in the hell is that thing? Please don't hurt it, Hana said, stepping protectively in front of Buell. It's just a child. That's not a child. That's an unregistered alien life form. Dae-hyun reached for his communication device. I'm calling this in. No, Buell said. And suddenly the device in Dae-hyun's hand turned to dust. The security officer stared at his empty hand, then at the glowing creature. Did it just disintegrate my comm unit? Buell, no, Hana said gently. We don't destroy things when we're upset. Sorry, Mom, Buell said, floating down to her shoulder. The bad man wanted to take me away from you. Dae-hyun backed toward the door. I need to report this. That thing is dangerous. It's not dangerous, Hana insisted. It's protective, there's a difference. It just turned my equipment into dust with a thought. Do you understand what that means? Before Hana could answer, Dae-hyun was reaching for his backup communicator. Buell's eyes flared brighter, and suddenly the entire wall behind the security officer simply vanished, revealing the corridor beyond. I said no, Buell repeated, its childlike voice carrying an edge of something far older and more powerful. Dae-hyun ran. Within hours, the entire colony was in chaos. Administrator Wan arrived with a full security team, demanding that Hana surrender, the creature for immediate containment. Military personnel from the orbital station were already on their way. Dr. Kim, you have endangered this entire colony by harboring an unknown alien entity, Wan shouted. That thing could kill us all. It won't hurt anyone unless they try to hurt me, Hana said, holding Buell close. The creature had grown again, now the size of a small child, and its light pulsed with agitation. Why do they want to take me away, Mom? Buell asked, its mental voice full of confusion and hurt. Because they're scared, Hana explained. They don't understand that you're not here to hurt anyone, but you're not scared. No, sweetheart, I'm not scared of you. The security team raised their weapons, and Buell's form blazed brighter. The air around them began to shimmer with heat. Everyone stand down, Hana commanded. If you threaten us, it will defend itself, and I don't think any of us want to see what that looks like. But it was too late. One of the security officers fired a warning shot into the ceiling. Buell perceived it as an attack on its mother. The creature's scream of rage shook the entire facility. In that moment, Hana realized she had not rescued an ordinary alien infant. She had awakened something far more ancient and powerful than anyone could have imagined, and it considered her its mother. The warning shot echoed through the facility for exactly 3 seconds before reality seemed to bend around Buell. The creature's form expanded, no longer child-sized but growing to match its fury. Light poured from its being like liquid fire, and the air itself began to sing with power. Stop! Hana shouted, placing herself between Buell and the security team. Please, everyone, just stop. But the damage was done. In its rage, Buell had unconsciously unleashed abilities that defied every law of physics Hana knew. The entire east wing of the research facility simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not damaged, but gone as if it had never been built. The security officers stared in terror at the empty space where solid walls and equipment had been moments before. Administrator Wan's face had gone completely white. Nobody move, Hana said carefully. Buell, look at me. Focus on my voice. The creature's blazing form turned toward her, and she could see something ancient stirring in those points of light that served as eyes. Memories that belonged to a time before humans had even left their home planet were surfacing. "I remember now," Bayul said, its voice no longer childlike but carrying the weight of eons. "I remember what I am, what we were." "What are you remembering?" Hana asked gently, keeping her voice calm despite her racing heart. "The time before the Great Sleep, when my people shaped the stars themselves, when younger races looked to us as gods." Bayul's form shimmered, becoming more solid, more defined. "We were the firstborn, the ones who came before all others." "Administrator," one found his voice. "Gods? Did it just say gods?" Before anyone could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the colony. The emergency broadcast system crackled to life with Colonel Min-Su's urgent voice. "All personnel to emergency stations. We have multiple hostile contacts approaching the system." This is not a drill. Through the facility's windows they could see lights in the sky growing brighter. "Ships. Lots of them. The Nexari Empire," Juan whispered. "They found us." Hana had heard of the Nexari. Every human in space had. They were the galaxy's most ruthless conquerors, enslaving entire species and strip-mining their worlds. No human colony had ever successfully resisted a Nexari assault. "Mom, you're scared," Bayul observed, its massive form beginning to shrink, back toward child size as it focused on Hana's emotions. "Yes, I'm scared," she admitted. "Those ships up there belong to very bad people. They want to hurt everyone on this colony." Bayul looked up at the approaching lights, and something shifted in its expression. The ancient memories were still there, but they were filtered through the protective instincts of a child who loved its mother. "They want to hurt you?" "They want to hurt all of us." The creature's form blazed brighter again, but this time the light was cold rather than warm. "No one hurts, Mom." Colonel Min-Su's voice echoed through the facility again. "All civilians to emergency shelters. Our defense systems are no match for a Nexari fleet. We have maybe 10 minutes before they begin orbital bombardment." 10 minutes, one repeated numbly. "We're all going to die." Bayul floated toward the window, staring up at the approaching warships. Its small hands pressed against the glass, and, where it touched, the material became perfectly transparent, offering a clear view of space. The Nexari fleet was massive. Dozens of dreadnoughts, each one capable of cracking a planet's crust. Fighter squadrons swarmed between them like angry insects. At the center of the formation was a ship so large it blocked out the stars. "I know these ships," Bayul said quietly. "I remember this species. They were young when my people last walked among the stars. Crude, violent. We marked them as unworthy." "Marked them how?" Hana asked. "For judgment." The creature turned away from the window and looked directly at Hana. In that moment she saw not the child she had cared for, but something vast and terrible and older than human civilization. "I have to go now, Mom. The bad people want to hurt you and I can't let that happen." "Bayul, wait. You don't have to fight them. Maybe we can hide or negotiate or—" "No." The creature's voice carried absolute certainty. "I am firstborn. I am protector. I am judgment." Bayul floated toward her and gently touched her cheek with one glowing hand. "I learned about love from you, Mom. You showed me that some things are worth protecting no matter the cost. I don't want you to get hurt." Bayul's laugh was like starlight dancing. "I am not the one who will be hurt today." The creature began to change again, its form expanding and becoming more radiant. The childlike features were still there, but they were now part of something magnificent and terrible. Wings of pure energy spread from its back and its eyes became like twin suns. "Stay safe, Mom. I'll be back soon." With that, Bayul phased through the facility's wall and rose into space, leaving behind a silence broken only by the continued wailing of emergency alarms. "What have you done?" one whispered to Hana. She watched through the transparent wall as a small figure of light ascended toward the massive Nexari fleet. "I think I just changed the balance of power in the galaxy." Above them, the first Nexari, Dreadnought suddenly stopped firing its weapons. Then it began to come apart, not from explosions or damage, but as if someone was carefully taking it apart piece by piece. The age of humanity's helplessness was about to end, and it would end, with the fury of a child who refused to let anyone hurt its mother. In the vacuum of space, Buell hung motionless before the Nexari fleet like a single star challenging the darkness. The massive warships had stopped their advance, their weapons trained on the small, glowing figure that had appeared from nowhere. Admiral Crix, commander of the Nexari Third Fleet, stared at his viewscreen in confusion. In 30 years of conquest, he had never seen anything like this. His ship's sensors couldn't even properly identify what they were looking at. "Sir, should we fire on the target?" his weapons officer asked. "It's just one small creature," Crix replied. "Use the particle cannons, vaporize it, and continue with the planetary assault." The lead dreadnought's main guns powered up, energy building to levels that could crack a moon. The beam that erupted from the weapons array was bright enough to illuminate half the star system. It struck Buell directly. For a moment, the creature was lost in the blinding light of the particle beam. Then the energy began to bend and twist, flowing into Buell's form like water into a drain. The creature absorbed the entire blast, its own radiance growing brighter. "Impossible," Crix breathed. Buell spoke, and somehow its voice carried across the vacuum to every ship in the fleet. "You came here to hurt my mom. That was a mistake." The creature raised one small hand, and the dreadnought that had fired on it began to come apart. Not exploded, not damaged, but carefully disassembled as if invisible hands were taking it apart, bolt by bolt. The crew had time to scream before their ship dissolved around them, leaving only escape pods drifting in space. "All ships, fire everything," Crix commanded. "Now." The entire Nexari fleet opened fire at once. Particle beams, plasma cannons, fusion torpedoes, and antimatter warheads all converged on the small figure floating in space. The combined firepower was enough to sterilize a continent. Buell spread its wings of light and absorbed every attack. The energy made it grow larger, more radiant, more terrible. When the barrage ended, it had doubled in size and blazed like a miniature sun. "My turn," Buell said. What followed was not a battle. It was a demonstration. Buell moved through the fleet like a force of nature. It didn't simply destroy the Nexari ships, it unmade them. Dreadnoughts that had conquered worlds crumbled to dust at its touch. Weapons that could crack planets harmlessly bounced off its energy field. But the creature was selective in its destruction. It targeted only the command ships and heavy weapons platforms, leaving the smaller vessels and escape pods intact. Every life it could spare, it spared because Hana had taught it that all life had value. Admiral Crix watched in growing horror as his unstoppable fleet was methodically torn apart by a single being. When only his flagship remained, Buell appeared on the bridge without warning. The Nexari crew scrambled for weapons, but their energy rifles passed harmlessly through the creature's form. Buell looked around the bridge with curious eyes, taking in the alien technology and the terrified faces of the conquerors. "You are Admiral Crix," Buell said. It wasn't a question. "What are you?" Crix demanded, trying to keep his voice steady. "I am firstborn. I am the one who judges, and you, Admiral, have been judged." The creature's form began to shift, becoming more imposing, more ancient. When it spoke again, its voice carried the authority of eons. "Your species has enslaved 47 worlds. You have murdered billions of innocent beings. You turn living planets into dead rocks to feed your greed. This ends now." "You can't stop the entire Nexari Empire," Crix said. "We have thousands of fleets, millions of ships." "I know." Buell's eyes blazed brighter. "I have been sleeping for a very long time, Admiral, but I am awake now, and I remember what I am. I am one of those your ancestors worshipped as gods before they forgot their place in the universe." The creature extended one glowing hand toward Crix. "You have a choice. Surrender your fleet. Order your empire to release every world it has conquered. Face trial for your crimes against lesser species. Do this, and you will live." "And if I refuse?" Buell's form flickered, and suddenly Crix was alone in the void of space, watching his flagship crumble to atoms around him. Then he was back on the bridge, gasping for air that had never left his lungs. That was 1 second of what eternity feels like when you are unmade, Biol explained calmly. I can make it permanent if you prefer. Admiral Crix, who had stared down the combined fleets of dozen civilizations without flinching, fell to his knees. I surrender. We surrender. Good. You will send a message to every Nexari fleet in the galaxy. Tell them that humanity is under the protection of the Firstborn. Tell them that any who threaten human worlds will face judgment. Tell them that the age of Nexari conquest is over. Crix nodded frantically. Yes, I'll send the message. And, Admiral? Biol's voice became gentle again, almost childlike. Tell them that if they want to learn a better way to live, they should ask humans to teach them. My mom says that understanding is better than fighting. The creature began to fade from the bridge. You have 1 hour to evacuate this system. Any Nexari ship found in human space after that will be unmade, permanently. As Biol disappeared, Admiral Crix collapsed into his command chair. His hands shook as he opened communications to every Nexari fleet in the galaxy. This is Admiral Crix of the 3rd Fleet, he began, his voice barely steady. I am issuing an immediate withdrawal order for all operations in human space. Effective. Immediately, humanity is designated as protected species under divine mandate. He paused, remembering the terrible power that had just spared his life. The gods have returned, and they have chosen their champions. May whatever deities you pray to have mercy on us all. Down on the colony, Hana watched through the transparent wall as the surviving Nexari ships began jumping to hyperspace, fleeing the system as fast as their engines could carry them. A small point of light was descending from space, growing larger. As it approached, Biol phased through the wall and immediately shrank back to child size, floating over to Hana with a satisfied expression. I told the bad people to go away, it announced proudly. They won't hurt you anymore, Mom. Hana pulled the creature into a hug, holding it close despite the warmth radiating from its form. I'm proud of you for showing mercy. You taught me that, Biol said, snuggling against her. You taught me that protecting people is better than hurting them. Around them, the surviving colony personnel stared in awe and terror at the being that had just single-handedly defeated the most powerful military force in the galaxy. But to Hana, it was still just her little star, the child she had saved and who had saved them all in return. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted in the span of an hour, and it had all started with one woman's decision to care for an abandoned egg. 6 months had passed since the Battle of Kepler 4042b, as the historians were already calling it. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. News of humanity's divine protector had spread faster than any ship could travel, carried by the desperate warnings of surviving Nexari forces. Hana stood in her new laboratory, watching Biol carefully tend to a small garden they had planted together. The creature had grown again, now the size of a human teenager, but it still insisted on helping with the most mundane tasks. The tomatoes are growing well, Mom, Biol announced happily, its form shimmering as it watered the plants with precise drops of energy-condensed moisture. I think they like the extra sunlight I'm giving them. Just don't make them grow too fast, Hana warned with a smile. Natural growth is usually better. Their peaceful morning was interrupted by the arrival of Administrator Juan, who now treated every interaction with Hana as if he were approaching royalty. Behind him walked a tall, stern-faced man in an expensive suit. Dr. Kim, this is Director Sung Ho from Earth Colonial Command, Juan said nervously. He's here on official business. Sung. Ho stepped forward with the confidence of a man used to getting his way. Dr. Kim, I'm here to discuss the strategic implications of your situation with the entity. Biol, Hana corrected. Its name is Biol, and it's not a situation. It's my child. Yes, well, regardless of your personal attachment, you must understand that this creature represents the most significant military asset in human history. Earth Command requires that it be relocated to a secure facility where its capabilities can be properly studied and utilized. Biol looked up from the garden, its eyes focusing on the newcomer. The temperature in the room dropped several degrees. He Wants to take me away from you, Biol observed, its voice carrying that dangerous edge that had become familiar to the colony staff. No one is taking you anywhere, Hana said firmly. Director Sung-ho, I appreciate Earth Command's interest, but Biol is not a weapon to be studied. It's a living being with its own thoughts and feelings. Dr. Kim, you're being unreasonable. The defense of humanity itself is at stake. This entity could protect all human worlds from any threat. I already do, Biol said, floating over to stand beside Hana. I watch the sky paths. I listen to the star voices. Any who threaten humans will find me. Sung-ho's eyes gleamed with interest. You see, it already acknowledges its protective role. Imagine what we could accomplish if it were properly trained and directed. That was when Biol's patience ran out. The director suddenly found himself standing in the middle of space, watching as every star in the galaxy aged millions of years in seconds. He experienced the heat death of the universe, the final fading of the last black hole, the endless cold of absolute entropy. He felt what it was like to exist alone in perfect darkness for eternity. Then he was back in the laboratory, his hair now completely white, his hands shaking uncontrollably. He looked like he had aged 20 years in the span of a heartbeat. That was 10 seconds, Biol said conversationally. Would you like to experience what a lifetime feels like? Sung-ho couldn't speak. He could only stare at the creature with the absolute terror of someone who had seen the end of everything. Biol, Hana said gently. I think the director understands. Now, he wanted to cage me, to make me into a tool. The creature's form flickered with suppressed power. I am not a tool, Director Sung-ho. I am firstborn. I am the child of infinity and the student of love. I cannot be controlled, commanded, or contained. However, Biol continued, its voice becoming softer, my mom has taught me about cooperation, about working together for the good of all, so I will make you an offer. The creature moved closer to the terrified director. I will continue to protect humanity as I always have, not because you command it, but because I choose it. Because humans like my mom showed me what it means to care for someone weaker than yourself. In return, you will leave my mom alone. You will let her continue her research. You will treat her with the respect she deserves. And you will remember that I am watching. Sung-ho managed a shaky nod. Good. Now go away. Mom and I have vegetables to tend. After the director and administrator left, Hana sat down heavily in her chair. This is never going to end, is it? People wanting to use you, study you, control you. Let them try, Biol said with a shrug. I have learned that the universe is full of people who think power can be owned. They are always wrong. The creature floated over and settled in Hana's lap like it had when it was small. Despite its teenage size, it somehow still fit perfectly. Besides, I have been thinking about something you said once about how knowledge is meant to be shared. What do you mean? I have been listening to the deep songs, the ones that carry messages between stars. Other eggs are stirring, Mom. My siblings are waking up across the galaxy. Hana felt her heart skip. Other eggs? Like yours? Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. They have been sleeping in the dark places between worlds, waiting for something, to call them home. Biol's eyes sparkled with mischief. And do you know what they all want when they wake up? What? A mom like mine. Hana stared at the creature in her lap. Are you telling me that there are going to be hundreds of beings like you looking for humans to adopt them? Not just any humans, special ones, ones who can love something different, something powerful, something that needs guidance. Biol nuzzled against her shoulder. Ones like you. Through the laboratory window, Hana could see ships arriving from all over human space. Not warships or government vessels, but civilian transports full of scientists, diplomats, and ordinary people who had heard the news and wanted to be part of this new chapter in galactic history. The galaxy is changing, Mom, Biol said quietly. The old ways of conquest and domination are ending. My siblings and I will make sure of that. But we need teachers. We need guides. We need humans to show us how to be better than what we were before. Hana looked down at the creature that had started as an abandoned egg and was now reshaping the destiny of entire civilizations. And what if humans aren't ready for that responsibility? Then we'll wait, Biol said simply. We waited. Before we can wait again, but I don't think we'll have to. You taught me that humans have something special, something that even the firstborn never had. What's that? The ability to love something without trying to own it, to protect something without trying to control it, to see potential in the abandoned and forgotten. Biol floated up to the window, looking out at the arriving ships. My siblings are going to love it here. As the sun set over the colony, Hana watched her adopted child tending to their garden while ships from across human space continued to arrive. She had saved one abandoned egg and accidentally triggered a transformation that would ripple across the galaxy for generations to come. Humanity was about to become the adoptive parents to a pantheon of cosmic entities, and somehow, Hana thought, they might just be ready for it. In the distance, her scanner picked up the first signals of something new hatching in the depths of space, calling out across the void for someone to love it. The age of humanity as galactic guardians had begun.